Tuesday morning, we welcome our guest in this morning, Mr. John Peterson. Good morning, sir. Good to see you.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Things been busy for you?
Oh, yeah.
Non-stop.
Well,
always something going on.
This is gardening time. I'm an avid gardener.
Have you been out yet? Because the weather's sort of been...
Oh, I've killed 1,000,000 weeds.
Well, there's two right here that you can get rid of. Mr. Peterson is the owner of Warm Home and Hearth in Pleasantville, and it's good to have you on the program this morning. Well, what an interesting winter it's been, and that's got to make it challenging, probably for your business at Warm Home and Hearth. But let's talk a little bit about the business, because it really is a really neat place. And I have to tell you, last week I was flipping through and caught a little bit of This Old House, and they went through a store that was just like yours, and I thought, oh no, because they didn't have as much or as many models. I thought, somebody should call into them and say, we can top this place here.
We do have a lot of displays. I think we have 20-some hooked to chimneys, probably 60 on display, where you can see what you're buying. Too often in that business, you have to buy it out of a book or someone showing you a brochure. But we have the displays, and I almost think sometimes we have so many we confuse people because they come in with no idea and then they go out with 4 ideas. Not uncommon for the wife to be going one way and the husband going the other.
But not only can you see the models, you can also feel the models because they're hooked up and they work.
We burn them. Yes, we do. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's a roof full of chimneys.
Yeah. But, a lot of times people don't know what sort of options they have. They think, oh, I need to have a chimney, or do I have to have a gas hookup? Let's just start with the different kinds of models you have and the different ways of heating a home.
Well, of course, we have gas, which is the hot item now. Gas is cheap. We have beautiful gas stoves for heating an area, like if you want to heat an area of your house. Or our number one item is gas fireplace inserts. If you have a fireplace in your house, you're probably losing heat unless you have it stuffed really full of insulation, that chimney really closed off. It's a draft. It's a chimney, and when it's cold outside and it's warm inside, that heat rises. I sold a wood insert to a person a couple years ago. Late summer, he was in early fall, and I said, "Well, how do you like your insert?" He said, "I haven't used it yet, but my house is warmer." Because we put a liner up his chimney, we cap it, and then the rest of it's blocked off. So you no longer have the heat in your house rising out the chimney. And in cold, windy weather, depending on how your chimney is located, there are people who have snow and ice blow down the chimney and into the fireplace and out, and they're trying to seal up the doors to keep the cold out. It all depends on how they were installed and if they were installed right and if they've been maintained. So fireplace inserts have long-term, and that can be gas, that can be pellet, it can be wood. And so we have 3 options there. And then we have fireplaces, and we're promoting those more. For the first time, we have the capacity, if you would like a gas or wood fireplace in your house, they're called zero clearance. They're framed in with wood.
Wow.
And you pick the wall and show it to our people, and we'll give you a dollar estimate of how much it would cost to install it and frame it and stone it and or brick it. Or our new display at the store has stone at the bottom and barnwood at the top, and that's been people really like it.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. And I guess that's the other part of the business. People aren't just walking in and buying a stove and figuring out how to hook it up when they get home. You guys have the knowledge and the capability of getting these things installed properly. Yeah. So there's
and that's certainly nothing you want to mess around with.
And they're not. The guarantees aren't good if they're not installed professionally.
Yeah.
Now some people do it themselves, but they risk warranty issues because they're a direct vent gas is unique. A chimney for a wood stove is pretty important. Venting of pellet stoves is simpler. I mean, that's more doable if you're pretty handy, because a lot of those just go straight out the wall with a cap on it, and so you have a wall thimble and some pipe and trim. But that's to be the simpler part. But these units they're high tech. They're beautiful. Anybody who puts in a gas insert in a wood fireplace, a stone fireplace, or puts in a fireplace, they really like them because it makes that room or that area of the house toasty warm. The aesthetics of the fire, the way they build them today, they're beautiful. They really look like a fire. They really look like a wood fire. And there's nothing like a fire in the evening on a cool, chilly night to watch, and so that's the attraction. But we now, for the first time, have the capacity to do it all. We used to have their contractor build the framework. The trick there was getting them to do it right, so our unit fit there, and we didn't have. Sometimes we had to go in and reconstruct, and but now we have the ability to just do it all. If you want your contractor to do it, we'll come and set the unit, and we like to vent it, make sure that's the way it's hooked up right. The venting is the important part of a fire.
Yeah, of course, there's all the safety issues that you have.
Oh, absolutely.
But knowing you and your staff out there, there's also that concern for the customer. When somebody comes into your store, you treat them like family, and I know people say that we'll treat you like, but you guys actually do, and you don't want to see anything happen to your customers or their family members.
No, I read a fire article this morning in the Derrick. Every fire article I read, and fortunately, we've not had an issue in our 10 years. But we do go in. I want to say this: we go into a lot of homes. I mean, when people come to buy a stove, especially a wood stove, venting can cost you more than the stove if you don't have a good Class A chimney that's made to vent that item. And some people don't realize that we run into venting issues that are really dangerous. That it's fortunate they haven't burnt the house down or have died of carbon monoxide poisoning.
Wow.
And we have a lot of people who want unvented gas fireplaces and things. We don't sell a lot of them. They're used more in the South where you heat intermittently, not very much. But if you have a fireplace in your house, I don't recommend unvented gas. I mean, as you age especially, it's carbon monoxide. And carbon monoxide is a sneaky item. I talked to a guy one day that had one. He said, "Oh, I have a beautiful fireplace. It's unvented." And I said, "Do you ever feel groggy when you've laid down on the couch?" "Yeah, I have a hard time getting awake." I said, "Well, if you were tested, that's probably low-level carbon monoxide poisoning. And when you get to high level, it's just over. You don't know. There's no warning signs of carbon monoxide poisoning except being groggy."
Wow. And around here, you have all these old homes. Does that make that a challenge when it comes to either installing or when people come in and say, "Boy, there's so many drafty parts of the house. How do I pick the right stove that's going to help me for this room or this area?"
Well, that's what we try to offer people, a warm area in your house. You don't have to have your whole house at high heat. But if you have a couple warm areas where you sit, where you spend your leisure time, and you certainly want it to be warm in your kitchen area and where you eat and spend your meals. But so we try to warm up an area. In a big old farmhouse, it's going to cost you a lot of money if you're going to keep the whole thing toasty. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you can have those nice, cozy areas. And our gas stoves are actually like a fireplace in a beautiful cast iron framework. And I was dealing with a couple last Saturday that came in wanting 2 fireplaces, and when they left, they were deciding whether they wanted 2 beautiful gas stoves or 2 fireplaces, and then maybe put some stonework behind them, or put them up on a pedestal or raise them up and do some stonework, which would actually be less costly than putting in fireplaces. And so they were, between the 2 of them, were toying between whether they wanted to go gas stoves or gas fireplaces. So there's lots of options.
Does that heat radiate once that's installed? I mean, that would affect other parts of the house.
They all have fans on them.
We talk about efficiencies in vehicles. Talk about some of the efficiencies you have in furnaces now. I mean, these things are incredible.
They're in the 80s, high 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not the 50, 60 like the old ones. They're in the 80s, but they have fans. I always urge people, even on a wood stove, don't turn the fan high. Let the air heat up before you move it, because if you could color the air and you turn a fan on, you could watch it go right across the room. It moves. And if people have ceiling fans on low, really circulates heat well. Those are some people who have a ceiling fan will not put a fan on a stove because it's another $300, and so they'll use that ceiling fan because that pushes the air down and out, and it really circulates it well. So there's lots of ways. In a lot of houses, You put in a larger stove, and they'll use little small fans to move the heat around, down a hallway or here because to get it where they want. We also have fan systems that'll fit right in the wall, where you'll take the heat in this room. You can use between the 2x4s to go down and put your grate at the bottom, and you can blow warm air out into the next room. So there's all kinds of, and they're only $150.
So something like that, then your guys can install that whole system.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Our guys could build your house they're capable of building a house.
Wow. 20 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock, we're here with Mr. John Peterson of Warm Home and Hearth. This is the Morning Drill on Stream Television and the Allegheny News Talk Sports Network. So I would imagine before, or maybe somebody comes in and picks their model, what's best for them to kind of pick what they like, and then your guys to go out and scope out the area it's going to sit in for the estimate?
Well, the fireplace inserts, we have to measure the fireplace. They'll bring them in, but they taper in, they taper down. There's a lot of options. What's the chimney like? They're all different. There was no model on building fireplaces. Every masonry fireplace is different. I mean, every mason made them differently.
But you guys like the challenge.
Yes. So we have to determine what will fit in there and give them usually as large as it'll take. You know what I mean? They want heat, so they'll take the largest one, but it has to fit in. Unfortunately, we have a lot of homes locally, especially the modulars, and some of them high-end modulars. When they built them, and they're within the last 25 years, they put a wood fireplace in them that's absolutely worthless. It makes no heat, and has pretty puny chimney on it. You know, I mean, not where you, and there's not much we can do with it. Sometimes we can sneak a small wood insert or a small gas insert in them inside them, but that's the part that I find disturbing is some of the newer housing. The fireplaces that were put in were of little value. I mean, they don't make heat.
And I'm sure the homeowners aren't too happy when they get that news.
No, well, they didn't have the option. You know, they would have been glad to spend a few $1,000s and had a real fireplace that makes heat. You know, they probably paid more for that one than they should have.
Right.
But that's the unfortunate part in the modular housing. There's the whatever's in them is pretty low end.
I have, in my own home, I have a fireplace insert in our main room, but in a second room, there's another fireplace that appears to have been functional at one time, but the homeowner before me placed, it looks like an antique almost, it's a ceramic radiant fire kind of a thing. Do you deal with any of those, or are they sort of a rarity these days?
We'd have to look at it. I didn't quite finish my whole thought on the fireplace.
I'm sorry.
We go out and evaluate what'll fit, what kind of chimney work we need to do, and we give you a dollar price there's no cost to that. And if you don't do it, that's fine. We don't charge for that, but it's a pretty comprehensive estimate of all the work that's going to be needed to make your fireplace make heat, or your stove installed where you want it and piped either through the wall or through the chimney, through the roof. Our guys are good at cutting holes in roofs. We don't have leaky. A lot of people don't want their roof cut a hole through, but it's not an issue. It all depends on where you're putting it. And if you're on an outside wall, that's one thing. But if you're not, we cut holes in roofs every day, and it's not a problem.
And I'm sure that this time of year is actually the best time of year to start working on these projects. So if you're again trying to get ready for this upcoming winter season, which is only really months away before the furnaces are going to be kicking back on. I mean, they're still on now, but September, when you're starting to think about it, October, don't wait till the snow flies.
Well, our problem is, we can do that now. We have people laid off now. We're slow. This is the slow season. We could do it now and do it in a timely fashion. In the fall, we sell enough stoves that we're installing stoves every day. So, and when you're building a fireplace or doing a major project, or putting in a furnace, wood coal furnace or whatever, that's a lot more work, and we need time, And so, we urge, if your project's major, don't wait till July or August or September. Now's a good time to do it.
Yeah. And I would imagine if somebody's thinking, we're going to paint the house this summer, we're going to redo our roof this summer, stop up and see you guys first, get your model picked out,
Yep.
and have your guys come out and take a look at the situation and say, okay, let's figure out how we can do this and incorporate it with what you're remodeling.
Yeah, that was the customer that came in Saturday. They were adding a couple rooms on, and wanted to use either fireplaces or gas stoves to augment the heat rather than alter the heating system and putting venting out there. So that's often the case. When they're putting on a new area, they want it to be their hideout, or that warm spot in the house where they're going to hover in the wintertime and be cozy and toasty warm.
That man cave. They want that nice and warm. In some of these models, and this is cool because you showed us, more than just throwing out heat. You can cook on some of these.
Oh, yeah. We have a wood stove that's called the Rangeley that has a top lid on it, and it has a cook plate in there. And the guys love to take these pork loins, these pork loins the supermarkets have now, and that are marinated, and they put them in there for 42 minutes with a hot fire.
Wow.
And I want to tell you, it's really good. Yeah, they cook. Of course, we cook sausages and dogs and burgers, and it's a grill you pick out, but it's safe and clean, but it's stainless. But that's a popular stove, and it's a stove that burns very well and makes a lot of heat. And we didn't look at it as a stove for a long burn time, but we noticed one day we come in and there was hot ashes in it, and I said, did somebody fill this up last night? We close at 5 and open at 8. That's a long time for a wood fire. And so we started filling it up every night for 6 days, and we had ashes when we opened at 8 o'clock every day. That's a 15-hour burn time. I can't guarantee you it'll do that. Depends on the wood you have, but that's a long time. So it's a stove that burns. It starts easily. It burns freely. It's a Yodel Rangeley, they call it, but I call it the fun stove because you can cook on it. Because in a cold, boring winter day, it's fun to cook inside.
Absolutely.
And there's you don't even smell the cooking inside, but you go outside and it's all up the chimney. The smell.
So all the neighbors are coming over then.
Yeah. So you're burning the grease. If there's something, there's sausage melting off, it burns, but there's no smell or odor in the house. And that's the downside. We were a little disappointed. I can't smell that cooking because it's all going out.
I would imagine you have certain models that would be perfect out at hunting camps.
Yes. We have 2 or 3 lines of steel stoves, and then we brought in the Yodel line that's cast iron. They've been making them for 160 some years. They were originally made in Norway. They're now made in Maine, but they're the king of cast iron. And the Rangeley is one of their stoves that's a steel stove. They have several steel stoves they've come out with in the recent generation that they put a cast iron shell on top. They're very heavy. That Rangeley weighs like almost 600 pounds. I mean, it's a monster piece of metal. But that's why it works so efficiently, because once you get it warm, it makes lots of heat. And it has the steel stove with the cast iron shell on it.
Do you get a lot of customers that come in and they're showing you their bills, or they're trying to figure out how to maybe save some money, or is it more of, here's a cold spot in the house and we really want to do something about it, or we want a nice gathering spot where the family can sit around and enjoy a fire?
All of those. But some come in knowing exactly what they want. With the internet now, we've had them come in. Had a guy from Washington, D.C. had a camp down on the river. His son had researched, and he'd come in. It was a brand we carried, and he wanted this stove. And he said, my son's told me this is one I need. And he just wanted a quote on a chimney, and it was their getaway. Here I found out he was a top official at the Pentagon. And it was kind of interesting. When we did his camp, it was in the middle of nowhere. I mean, nowhere.
Oh, so your guys went down to the camp and did it?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Wow, okay. Oh, yeah. We went down, put the chimney in, installed the stove. But it was interesting. Now that showed you a person that knew exactly what they wanted. But lots of people come in. Most people have no idea of their options, and that's why our store, once they come there, we even have people from the city say, "Well, we don't have options like this." We do have a lot of variety there. It's a big inventory, and gives people a lot of choices. I said sometimes we have to be careful to not confuse them. because sometimes they're almost ready to buy, and then they're, well, do we want to do this or do we want to do that?
Well, maybe they have to run home and just double check and see.
have a family discussion.
Right. Again, get up to Warm Home and Hearth. Now's the perfect time to get those installs scheduled, and so you're nice and warm. Coming up here in just a few. Actually, I know a lot of people in the summer that still love to sit inside and enjoy a fire.
Oh yeah, people are still buying pellets every day. I mean, they're buying them in 5s now instead of tons. This is my last 5, and the next week they come in because it's been cool enough at night.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have anybody that brings their pets in to let them test whether the dog likes the stove or not?
No, but they come in and visit my dog. I had an old pet, an old golden retriever that loved everybody and all dogs. I've got a new young spaniel that doesn't like men, likes women. It's interesting, but doesn't like men. So I'm going to have to get. I got a dog trainer coming to see if we can, because I enjoyed having a dog in the store. And people with Milo, the big dog, people come in with kids and they just had been in before. They just turned their kids loose. The kids get down to the floor and played with them.
How can folks get a hold of you if they have any questions or want more information?
Well, 814-589-7890. The email is Warm Home and Hearth, Warm Home, spell and Hearth, @juno.com.
All right. Mr. Peterson, good to see you this morning. Let's have you back real soon.
All right.
All righty. Final look at news coming up next.